Okay, so this right here is basically my rough draft of a script, okay? With me and all my clients, I kind of like to keep an open conversation. But these are just basically some basic word tracks that I use. Kind of got a little bit here. I'll just kind of run through it real quick, but anyways. So for every phone call, my intro is like, for example, it's like, "Hello, Mary." And then they go, "Yes." I'm like, "Hey, Mary, this is Jacob. I was just getting back to you here real quick in regards to that request you had sent into our office. It was the one where you had put Bob as a beneficiary for life insurance. Is that correct, ma'am?" And then they say yes. And then I go into exactly who I am and kind of why I'm calling. And then I go, "So perfect. Well, my job's pretty simple here. I'm just a licensed underwriter for the state of Oregon. My job is just to see what plans would be available for you as far as qualifying goes. And then of those A-rated carriers that may be able to accept you, my job is just to kind of shop the whole market and figure out which ones would be able to get you the most amount of coverage for the lowest cost." Does that make sense? And then they say yes. And then I kind of go straight into why they filled out the form. So I'm like, "Okay, awesome. Now, just so I can get a better idea here of how I can help you, a lot of my clients, they fill out the form because they're either looking to take care of final expenses, like burial costs, cremation, other times it's income replacement. Maybe you had a mortgage to protect. What kind of had you looking into the life insurance?" And then they tell me, and then once they tell me, I kind of go, "Oh, okay. And have you kind of been looking for a while, or is this like your first stab at it?" And then they tell me, and the reason why I ask that is because that'll give me an idea of what kind of a person they are. If they've been shopping a lot, it'll give me an idea of, if they're going to waste my time or not. And then I ask them right off the back too, "Well, do you have anything that works like life insurance, or what was that kind of looking like?" And then they're like, "Oh, no, I don't have anything. I've just been shopping." And then I just go back into the script and I'm like, "Okay, perfect. Well, my job's pretty simple. Like I said, I'm just a field underwriter. Kind of work like a national broker. So what that means is I basically work with all the top A-rated carriers to shop the whole market for you." Now, the way that these all work is these plans are all state regulated, okay? So what that means to you is the price is all based on your age and your health. So kind of what you'll come to find as we shop from carrier to carrier, the prices are all going to be relatively the same, like pennies on the dollar, okay? Now, kind of as that form said, these are all non-medical options. So what that means is they're just basically take a look at your prescription history through the Medical Information Bureau. And secondly, I'll just ask you a few financial suitability questions just to get a better idea of, what would be the most affordable and sustainable route for you, along with, how much coverage you guys would need as well. And then I go like this. So then lastly, once we're able to find something that's affordable and covers your guys' needs, we won't even really get to make a final decision today, just because we won't even know if you can actually get it until we get a yes or no from the insurance carrier. So my job as the underwriter is basically just to help submit that request for approval, and then the insurance company will come back and give us a yes or no, kind of giving us a better sense of direction if we get declined. Does that sound good? And then they always say yes. And then I get straight into underwriting right here. All of our sheets kind of look different as far as financial suitability sheets. So I kind of use a basic one that top of the sheet says renting or mortgage. I figure out how much they're paying in rent or their mortgage. If it's a mortgage, I spend a little bit of time on that and just go, a lot of my clients, they want to make sure that their largest asset is protected. So just ballpark figure here. What was the approximate home value? And then they tell me. Now, the reason why I ask that, guys, is because I'm trying to figure out how much equity is in the home so I can use it as leverage in order to help protect their family and protect that equity, right? And then to figure out their income, I always say, I always specialize in helping a lot of families and a lot of people that are on fixed incomes like Social Security, disability, pensions. Is that kind of a similar situation as yours? And they always, 9 times out of 10, tell me yes. The reason why I say that is because it kind of like puts them in a group of people and makes me look like a professional. And, they're like, a lot of people jump and they're like, "Yep, that's me." and just kind of, helps them feel more comfortable, I guess. And then here, once on that financial inventory sheet that you fill out, at the bottom it always says, do you currently have anything that works like life insurance? Like, what is your current plan? So here's where I spend a little bit of time on the why, figuring out exactly why they need it and why they want it. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that have to sell us on why they need it, right? And then the close is pretty simple. Once you get through the financial inventory sheet, I like to do 15. I like to do a 3-option close, basically. I look at 15% of their discretionary income, 10%, and then 7%. So the way that I kind of set that up is I go, okay, now, like I said, I specialize in helping a lot of people that are on fixed income. So with me and all my clients, the number one important thing is making sure that it's going to be affordable day in and day out, right? And so what we've come to find statistically is if we stay below 15% of the discretionary income, which is the money that's left over at the end of the month after all your bills are paid, it's going to be a very low risk and affordable payment for all of our clients, okay? So just ballpark, what would you say your total monthly expenses are? And then they tell me, and then I subtract that from their monthly income, and that's how I figure out their discretionary. And then that's how I figure out how much coverage I'm going to quote them, basically. Not quote them because we're not quoters, but what I'm going to show them, basically what I'm going to pitch them, right? And then basically the close, once I, have them grab a pen and paper, always have them grab a pen and paper. I'll be like, okay, Mary, go ahead and grab a pen and paper real quick. I'm going to have you write some things down now. This is the time when you want to write some things down. They go grab the pen and paper, and then I go, okay, so first option, you're going to want to write down $10,000, okay? Now the $10,000 would be more than enough to cover your cremation costs. They'll be a little bit of extra. And then go ahead and write down $8,000, then go ahead and write down $5,000. Now I have them write down the numbers of the death benefit before I give them the price, right? And I explain what each of the plans is going to do as I'm having them write it down. And then once they write it all down, then I give them the price. And so then I go, hey, Mary, that $10,000 there is going to cover all your cremation costs, leave behind about $5,000 after it, depending on how expensive your cremation is. That one is only going to be such and such a month, right? And that's only 15%. If it's a little tight, then I always kind of down close and be like, I honestly wouldn't recommend this one. I would kind of look towards the middle route. This one would cover all your needs. This one's $8,000. That one's going to cover all your cremation costs. Leave behind maybe a little bit. That one was only like $40 a month. And then for the smallest one, I'm always like, this is kind of bare minimum to invest in your family. Just a kind of bare minimum, throw me in a tin can, and then put me on the fireplace mantle kind of deal is what I always tell them. And they kind of laugh, and then I kind of laugh. And then for the close, I'm just like, so based on those 3 options, like I said, we can't really make a decision today just because we won't even know if you can qualify until we actually submit that request and get a yes or no from the carrier. So like I said, my job's really as simple as the underwriters, just to help submit that request for approval, and then they'll come back here and give us a better sense of direction if you get declined. But I'm going to do my best here for you, okay? And then they pick one. I'm like, okay, perfect. Well, I don't like to make any promises, but we'll go ahead and see if we can start there. See if we can get you approved, okay? And then we get right into the e-app. It's pretty simple. And then, as you're in the e-app, you'll face some objections as you come across it, like social or banking, but there's ways to avoid it. So once I get into the e-app, I hop them on Crankwheel, share my screen with them. They have my credentials, right? And then I go straight to it, telling them what I'm going to need on the e-app or what the carrier is going to need. And so this is how I set that up. So for any insurance company on any insurance application, they're going to require 3 things, okay, because this is all state regulated. So the first thing that they're going to require is they're just going to do a prescription background check on you through the Medical Information Bureau. They're also going to want to verify that you're a U.S. citizen. That's all tied to your social, obviously, so they require that. Secondly, They'll just ask you some basic information about your beneficiary, so that way if you do end up getting approved and you end up passing away, they know who to deliver that check to. And then lastly, no payments are due today. Payments only occur after approval if you get approved, but obviously on any life insurance application they are going to require a valid form of payment. For this one, they do not accept debit cards because those are not secure. They only use a standard numbers on the bottom of like a voided check, like a routing and account number. Any questions or concerns there? And then they tell me if there's any questions or concerns there. If there is, then I address it. If there's not, then I'm like, okay, perfect. Well, we don't need those things right at this minute, but just be sure that you have those 3 things ready, because they will be required here on the application, okay, in order to see if we can get you approved. And then they go, okay. Once I started saying that last part that I just said, my objections with social or banking has gone down substantially, just because I've told them right before we get into it, I try to make it blatantly obvious that we are going to need those things in order to see if we can get you approved. If you don't set it up that way, then you're going to run into a lot of objections on the e-app, regardless of, if you're sharing your screen, if you sent them your license, all that stuff. People are people at the end of the day. They need every sense of reassurance. And also they just need us to kind of help lead, guide, and direct them into the right path into helping protect their family, right? So I hope that helps. There's a lot more to it, but it is pretty simple. Don't overthink it. Anyways, hope that helps, and let's get it.